You know, normally Wall Street loves layoff news. Here's the only time they don't, when it involves them. Fox Business Alert, Wall Street, these layoffs, you. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and Fox on top of some big financial jobs about to go down. Reports that Goldman Sachs will join the likes of Morgan Stanley and Credit Suisse, I love saying Credit Suisse, in laying off what could be hundreds of positions over the next year. And the Bank of America would soon follow Barclays in jettisoning hundreds as well. Add it up. The financial hit alone in the investment banking community will be big, and the impact on the financial-dependent New York economy, to say nothing of the so-called tri-state area around it, New Jersey and Connecticut, well, it could be huge. Then there is real estate. The 1987 stock market crash led to a nearly 5-year housing funk, and we're still not the better of the big financial meltdown a few years ago. The upshot? I don't care if you're a broker. This news could leave this economy, and maybe you, broke. And that home of yours, bust. As Uber realtor Dolly Lenz often reminds me, housing invariably comes down to jobs. And when they ain't happening, housing ain't happening. And Dolly, you say this news confirms it won't be happening for a while, right?
Well, who's going to jump into this pregnant pause? I mean, it's just one bad piece of information after another, you know, between Boeing and Wall Street layoffs and everything else. You know, New York has pretty much remained unscathed as a result of Wall Street employing. Now with Wall Street possibly cutting back, that's a huge problem for us.
All right, and we should stress in the scheme of things, the layoffs we're talking about are nothing approaching the magnitude in percentage terms of the post-'87 experience, or for that matter, the 2008 post-meltdown experience. Nevertheless, they do interrupt what has been a fairly stable trend, and it calls into question that we could be in a downdraft for housing, a serious one. Do you buy that?
Housing at the end of the day is about employment and employment, and then it's about confidence. Confidence about employment today, about your potential for employment in the future. Without that, you're just not going to have a good housing market anywhere. Right now, we're in a few places we have a good housing market.
Where are those places?
New York, Silicon Valley, Texas. You know, there's a few places where there's employment. Washington, D.C., you know, where there's employment.
Well, that's a big government hire there. But I'm wondering in New York, I mean, there's always the very, very high end that has been resistant to prices crashing. I mean, people have been waiting for that. Lizzie McDonald, you know, holding off on that Central Park, you know, roof terrace, thinking that it'll crash. You're saying it might not crash, but it could drop a ways.
Well, A, it could drop a ways, and B, we could start getting really backed up inventory again. That's when everything just goes to nothing. You know, it's a big pause, nobody's doing anything, inventory swell, and the market just dies a natural death.
When they go through, I know you appeal to a lot of folks, you're a successful realtor for a reason. Everyone likes doing business with you, but the rich particularly. And the rich have a whole different mindset with this stuff. But they have to put more money up front now, don't they?
Oh, without a question. I mean, most people are putting up at least 50%, and more deals are now being...
50%, 50?
Yes, 50%, and now more and more people are actually putting up 100%, possibly taking out financing later. But with these historically low interest rates, it's actually shocking that they're doing that. But I guess they're saying to themselves, look, I used to be able to get this much in the stock market or this much in a hedge fund, but that's no longer a guarantee, so I may as well just leave it in my home.
Do the headlines get ahead of themselves, though, Dolly? In other words, people hear, you know, the Case Shiller folks and others say this could go on a while. And a lot of these smart investment sites with whom you deal, or at least a good percentage of your customers, say, you know what, I thought this was an imminent turnaround. It might not be. I'll rent or I'll put off on the big Central Park pad.
The rental market in New York City specific is so tight. It's unbelievable. Almost everything that comes on the market gets rented immediately. All the landlords are extraordinary. Yes, immediately. The landlords are extraordinarily happy, but of course the sellers aren't. You know, the volume of sales is off a good 40%. That is not a good recipe, and that's without the Wall Street, you know, unemployment numbers that are coming down the road.
Wow. Dolly, thank you very much. Dolly Lenz.
Thank you.